Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. Here is your daily forecast for the day of Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. Now, before I get started, I just wanted to let you all know that I've decided to do the Mercury retrograde webinar for free as a video on Facebook Live. So not even a webinar, but a Facebook Live video. If you would like to join me, it will be tonight at 6:30 p.m. my time, Mountain Time. That will also be what time? 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And for my folks on the East Coast, it'll be, what time is that? 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so if you would like to learn more about Mercury retrograde and to ask me some questions, join me on Facebook where you can talk to me live there and see me bring up some of the charts. All right, if you don't have Facebook, I should be able to, I believe I'll be uploading it as well to YouTube afterwards, but you won't get the live version where you can talk to me. All right, so just thought I would let you all know about that. I'll put the link down below to my Facebook page so that you all can like that, follow that, whatever, and then find it there tonight, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time to see me. All right, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. All right. So that's what's going on there. Now, for your horoscope, what we've got, Moon hanging out here in Gemini. And what that brings our attention to is definitely lots of thinking, lots of talking, lots of communicating. When the Moon moved into Gemini yesterday, I was having lots of conversations. I haven't had that many conversations with people in a while online, but there were a lot of conversations that were coming in with the Moon in Gemini. Lots of thinking, if not outwardly, then internally. Also with Gemini, it brings our attention to our community, working with our community, with the people around town. Also with Gemini, you get siblings come into the picture, brothers and sisters that you may have, and what else comes in with Gemini? Short trips around town, I like to think, running errands, making short trips to see people here and there, but not long distance. They're more close to home. Okay, so that's what we've got going on with the Moon in Gemini. Now at midnight last night and into today, we had the Moon in Gemini in a sextile with the Sun in Aries. I like to think that was very positive. Us communicating, especially with Aries, about ourselves, about what's going on with us, about who we are, things we want to do. And I think it being very positive with the sextile coming in, a good opportunity to start to think and communicate more about yourself in a way that was positive, that could help you understand things, that maybe felt more comfortable than it has previously as you were communicating. All right, so that's what I see going on early this morning. Then almost like the whole day later, all right, at 10 o'clock at night Mountain Time. So this is almost like, how many, I don't even know how many hours that is, like almost like a good 20 hours later, 24 hours later. The Moon then makes its next aspect at 10 o'clock at night, and that's going to be when the Moon makes a sextile to the North Node in Leo. So again, I also like that aspect because sextiles are my favorite. And I also like the North Node, I think at the nighttime, also giving us an opportunity to start to understand more what's going on with us and who we are, to communicate more about us and to get more insights on what we need to be happy and what we need to move forward, on what we need to put our life in a better spot. And I think just having a lot of positive conversations about all of that. All right, because the Moon is void for such a long period of time during the day, not making any aspects, maybe during the afternoon we feel like there's not really that many conversations that happen, or the conversations that are happening don't yield any results in some way. But I feel like the morning would be a good time to get some answers that you need and to have some good conversations, and then the nighttime too, things will start to pick up again to help you feel much better and to understand more and to get more of the information that you need that can help you to do some things that you really want and need. Okay, so that's what I see going on there. The only hard thing comes right after this sextile to the North Node at midnight. So the midnight of tonight and into tomorrow, the Moon, after it makes this sextile to the North Node, then makes a square to Neptune. And what that could definitely bring is some more confusion about you, about some things you're thinking about how you're communicating with people, about what's going on inside you. Maybe you have an opportunity coming in at the end of today, 10 p.m. with the sextile to the North Node, to get some answers that you need, to get some more information that you've been needing or missing to help you move forward. But then maybe that information that you receive and those conversations that it is that you have stir some uncomfortable feelings inside you, or make you feel uncomfortable in some way. Maybe you have to communicate communicate about things going on inside you that you don't want to communicate about in some way. So that could definitely be a thing that does start to come in at midnight into tomorrow. Is there being some kind of confusing thing after I think there were a lot of positive, productive conversations that go on helping you to get answers, then maybe there being a little confusion or a little uncertain thing that comes in at midnight after there's been a lot of information going on that it is that you've received. All right, and really needing to figure out how to communicate about the things that are going on inside you in a positive way, how to communicate about your feelings. And I always like to think with Pisces and with Gemini as well, how to balance some of your logic and some of the things that you're thinking with some solid intuition as well. So I think that could help you at midnight. All right, it's not going to be all bad, because after that hard thing comes up at midnight with the moon in a square to Neptune, then at 3 a.m. the next day now, the moon then makes a sextile to Mercury. So I think there's going to be, even though there may be a spot where there's some confusion going on, something inside spiritually maybe that you're feeling, or some emotions that come up that maybe a little confusing, hard to make sense of. I think by the time we get to 3 a.m. in the morning tomorrow, we're able to communicate in a better way about what we're feeling, process in our mind better what's going on, so that we can move forward. And I think with the moon in Gemini here, we're trying to get a better handle on our life, to figure out more what's going on with our life, what's been happening to us lately, to start to settle into it, make it more familiar. You know, I think of Gemini and Cancer really as like, you know, because I have a lot of planets in Gemini and Cancer, and so a lot of times I think that gives me like the girl next door feel, because Gemini rules like your neighborhood in a lot of ways, and Cancer rules your home. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to take everything that we've been doing lately and get more familiar with it, like it's a neighbor, you know. And I know that's like I'm mixing metaphors, you know. It's like we've got a lot of things that are going on in our life that I can't quite equate to a neighbor, but we're trying to make all of these new things that we've been doing familiar, you know. It's like we've been doing something new, and now we're checking out a house. Where can we move in? Where can we buy the house? Now that we've done a bunch of crazy stuff we haven't done before, how can we start to get more comfortable with it, especially being on this part of the zodiac now, after we've had a lot of planets on the top of the zodiac. We're trying to understand better what's going on, get comfortable with it, work everything out in our mind so that we can feel better about it, moving in the right direction. And I think that is what we're trying to do today. I think it's going to be very positive to get some answers, even if there is some kind of confusion that does come in around midnight. Okay, so I'll just leave it there. Now, other stuff going on in the background, which is going to change this a little bit, what I just said, because the moon is in a very positive spot, but there are some intense things going on today that are not as positive as the moon, just to let you know, coming in. Some of those intense things, especially Venus in a square with Pluto today. It's not that easy when you have that happening, because Pluto is hard, a square is hard, and Venus doesn't like being in Aries. So even though I think there's lots of good conversations that can happen today, that can give you a lot of information, a lot of insight that it is that you want and need, I think there's some hard things going on in relationships, some changes you want to make in relationships that could be a little bit difficult, some changes in money. If not, there's maybe some secret things that you didn't know all of a sudden coming up to the surface now about the people in your life, about your money situation, that you're having to figure out, okay, now that I didn't know all of this stuff, and now that I know it, maybe from all of that communication that's gone on today, what do I do with all of this now? You know, who do I want in my life? Who do I not want in my life? How do I spend my money? Maybe needing to change things in relationships and finances as a result of some conversations that you have and some information that comes up that you didn't know. Okay, and just needing to be careful of that, because there could be some very hard conversations that do happen with relationships about some changes. Okay, I think there's an opportunity to get some insights through conversations about what needs to happen here with the moon being in such a positive spot, but maybe some of this information that it is that you get, some of the stuff that you process in your mind, then incites you to make some more changes in some way. Okay, and I think these changes that you make are going to be positive for you, even if they feel a little bit intense in the moment. All right. So I don't want to confuse you today, but I do want you to know the moon's in a good place. Some of these other planets are in hard ones, making it kind of an interesting day where there's a lot of chance, I think, to get answers, even though there may be some heavier stuff going on that we're still trying to figure out, piece together to make something out of. Another difficult thing going on is the sun coming into a square with the Mars, bringing lots of action, doing things intensely, intense action, wanting to move forward, to make things happen, you know, to put your life in the right place, to do things that you want and need, especially as the sun moves further into Aries here and it hits this Mars, which it still has a day or two to come exact. I think there could be some impatience that comes in, wanting to do things, not wanting to wait. And I think we're having to make sure today with the moon in Gemini that before we make any crazy decisions, before we do anything that we may regret, that we have all the information that we need, that we've put everything in the proper perspective so that we can make sure that any decisions we make, any things we do, any changes we do decide to make happen, that they are really right for us and based on something that is really, really important to us and what it is that we want and need, okay? So I see that going on. And I think if you do the work logically, mentally, if you work things out in your mind, and if you communicate in the right ways with people, I think some of these other things are going to be less difficult than they could be, because you're going to have thought about them logically and clearly and have gotten everyone else on board with what it is that you're thinking and what it is that you value. Maybe that's what the moon being in such a good spot is saying, is if you can communicate with people in the right ways, you know, without emotions too much getting the best of you here, I think it's going to help you to make better plans and to make changes in a way, hopefully, that are better for you, or where you can see them in a more positive light than you would other times. All right. So that's what I'll say there. We also do have Jupiter and a sextile with Pluto, because Jupiter's retrograding back into this spot as well. Bringing up some positive changes in our life. Maybe that's going on. I think we've been changing our life for a while, especially ever since Saturn left Sagittarius to do something new. And I think Jupiter retrograding into the sextile with Pluto is helping us to make sure that any changes that we've made in the past few months are the right changes, are the best changes for us. Maybe we're having to get super meta, more changes to our changes. We made a whole bunch of changes at the beginning of the year and we're having to redo those things, change those things, especially with Mercury going retrograde. But I think this time, anything we can do to tweak some plans we made earlier are really going to be good for us to help us work out the kinks, get everything in functioning order, all right? And we may have to go back and revisit some things, especially with Mercury going retrograde, that we did earlier, but I really do think revisiting these things, especially with the sextile from Jupiter to Pluto coming in, really going to help us do them better than we did before, progress, find more of that stability, and feel like things are slowly starting to come into place, even though it's going to take more time for that sextile to perfect. Okay, so we've got that there. And then the last thing, of course, that I want to mention, Mercury going retrograde today, later on in the night, really, I think, giving us an opportunity to rethink who we are. Now that so much in our life has changed, who are we? How should we do things? What does this all mean? Are we okay with everything that has happened? Are we making so many changes in our life? Are we becoming the person that we've always wanted to be or not? And I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Maybe that's what a lot of the conversations that we're having about today are about, is, okay, now that things are moving forward, is this the life I really want? Is this the person I really want to be? And if not, what do I need to change again in order to be that, in order to put the finishing touches to make my life better based on everything that I've done so far? And I think, again, we're just reviewing everything that we've been doing for a while to make sure now that it's coming together, that we're happy with it, that everything's going according to plan, or the best plan possible. All right, so that's what I've got for you. Now your card is the Ace of Wands reversed. This to me is a card of lacking the passion today. I want to say. Maybe, yeah, with this Wands card, not having much excitement in life in some way, not feeling that excited. Maybe what's going on is with the moon in Gemini, we're having to do a lot of thinking and maybe temper our passions a little bit. Not so much about, especially with like the Mars square the sun, Venus square Pluto, with Venus and the sun in a fire sign. Maybe we want to move forward and make things happen and be excited about life. And I think the Ace of Wands is saying you got to temper some of your passions. You got to think more logically about these things in some way. Maybe you got to take things still a little bit slower to let all the pieces fall into place. Maybe it's also saying that everything doesn't have to be exciting all the time. Just trying to work out some of the details and some of the more strategic stuff, I think, is going to help you more so in the end if you just wait and let everything take its natural course instead of trying to force things that aren't meant to happen. And I think the moon in Gemini today really saying, sure, make some changes you have to make if you need to make them. Do some things if you need to do them, but make sure you are thinking about them logically. Make sure you are not making any rash or emotional decisions. Make sure that they're done with some good thought, reason behind them in a way that really kind of makes you feel comfortable in a life, or can make you feel comfortable, and make sure these decisions and these things that are going on are not going to throw your life into more chaos and are not going to, yeah, be impulsive. All right. So that's what I'll leave you with today. Thank you so much for watching my horoscope. If you like it, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you later.